The maximum track width that you're allowed is 1400 millimeters overall. Now that is measured from the outside of the wheel to the outside of the opposing wheel. And I'm going to show you how to get that done today and how to adjust the hubs as well. To adjust the rear track width on the little kids' karts, the hubs being so short they're inside the wheel, first up you've got to remove the wheel. Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be showing you rear track width, how to adjust it and what it means on the modern go-kart. Most modern go-karts are running a 50mm axle unless you're in one of the cadet or junior categories. This is the most common axle we see these days on racing go-karts, and the maximum track width that you're allowed is 1400 millimeters overall. Now that is measured from the outside of the wheel to the outside of the opposing wheel. And I'm going to show you how to get that done today and how to adjust the hubs as well. Now for reference, most people run between 1380 millimeters and 1400, which is the maximum. So you've got a 20 millimeter window. That means you can move each wheel about 10 millimeters per side from their maximum to the minimum for the working range. So to measure your overall track width, what we're going to do is use two straight edges, one here and one on the other side. Then we can slide a tape measure through the center of the axle and measure your overall track width. Now to adjust the rear track, first we're going to measure it using a tape measure, maybe from the bearing cassette out to the edge of the hub or the wheel, depending on what's easy for you. Now to make an adjustment, it is as simple as grabbing a 6mm Allen key, undoing the cap screw that holds the hub to the axle. Now simply just tap the wheel and the hub out said millimeters, recheck your measurement using your tape measure, and then you can do up the hub retaining nut again using the 6mm Allen key. So now before we go any further, a way easier way to adjust the rear track width, and this is actually my preferred method as well, is to use axle spacers. Now they come in a kit in all different sizes, and it just makes adjusting the axle track width or the rear track width so much easier. So I'm going to show you how to do that on the other side. So it's the same for this side. We're going to loosen off the hub nut, slide the wheel and the hub off the axle. Now on a standard length Tony Kart axle, one of the most common adjustments is to use the 10mm spacer. Then simply slide the spacer into the hub and you're ready to reinstall the hub onto the axle. Now we can retighten the cap screw. And now we want to check the overall track width using the ruler and the tape measure method. So now that we've adjusted the rear track width, we're going to use the tape measure and ruler method to double check our work. And then double check your measurements using the tape measure and the ruler, just as we showed you before. So when you are tuning your go-kart at the track, generally start with the widest track width, which is 1400 millimeters, especially if you're tall. Now if you're sort of 5'11" or less and you're running on a medium grip tire, start at around 1385. That seems to be the magic of these go-karts in my opinion. And then if it's hopping a little bit, you could move the track width out 5 or 10 millimeters in the rear, or if it's sliding a little bit, you could drag the wheels in 5 or 10 millimeters. Now like I said, these are my opinions and specific to this kart, but if you don't know any better, start there and just experiment in the 1380 out to the 1400 millimeter range, and you should have no troubles at all. Now I know what you guys are saying. Hey Des, I've got a Cadet kart, it's 30mm axle. What the heck, how do I measure that overall track width? Well, it's the same method. Now only the parameters are going to change a little bit because you're dealing with smaller drivers. And the track widths on these go-karts is set around 1100 millimeters, plus or minus about 10 millimeters. And I'm going to show you how to make an adjustment, and it's super simple. Now to measure the overall track width, it's the same as the other go-karts. We're just going to use the ruler and the tape measure method through the axle. To adjust the rear track width on the little kids' karts, the hubs being so short they're inside the wheel, first up you've got to remove the wheel. So to adjust the rear track width, the same as before, we're going to loosen off the cap screw here on the hub and then just slide it in or slide it out depending on the grip levels. Now traditionally on these little rookie EV karts, we're running the hubs either flush with the axle, 5mm in if it's super duper slippery, or 5mm off the axle if it's super duper grippy. Like I said earlier, these things are general rules of thumb that we found work for us. Experiment with them. Other guys will have their secrets, but for me, this generally works pretty good on these little Tony karts. So now we can just put the wheels back on the cart, adjust the other side, and then double check our measurements overall using the tape measure through the middle of the axle and the straight edge to measure to the edge of the wheels. Okay, so now you know how to adjust your rear track width. I'd like you to go to the track and get into it, try out a couple of these simple adjustments. Start with doing your tire pressures first, then you can do rear track width, front track width, and then move into your camber and caster adjustments. That would be a logical progression if you're new to karting. And let us know in the comments section if it's helpful. If you've liked the video and found it helpful, smash the like button, turn on those pesky notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't had enough of Dr. Power and the whole crew here, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Power Republic. We can go to our amazing website, www.powerrepublic.com.au, and get yourself something rad. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.